guys, and welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Maria, and today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released, it's a SUQQU foundation, and it's called the Liquid Foundation. Now prior to this, I hadn't tried any other SUQQU foundations. I just had the feeling that they would probably be a little bit too moisture rich for my oily skin. So I picked this up from Selfridges, and I've tried 3 times now to video this, and I've either started it or planned to do it that day, and for some reason it just hasn't worked out. So I've worn this foundation at least 3 times, so I know how it wears, and I absolutely love it. I think it is a beautiful foundation. I was a bit concerned because this is supposed to be a luminous type of foundation, which it is, but sometimes that can make oily skin look even oilier. So instead of having a beautiful soft luminous look, you end up with a greasy oily look, and people with oily skin, we don't want that. The other thing is that here in New Zealand it is now autumn. It's just turned autumn. Most of my subscribers are probably in America or in parts of the world where it's spring and you're going to head into summer. So even though the days are still warm here, the humidity level isn't as high as when it was probably about 4 weeks ago, which is wonderful for my oily skin and also for my curly hair. But just keep that in mind as I'm reviewing this foundation. Although one of the days, or probably 2 of the days that I did wear this foundation, the temperature was around 32 degrees Celsius, which I think is around 89, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So really, really warm days, and it wore really well. So here is what the foundation looks like. It is beautiful packaging. It is glass. It just has a pull-off lid, and there is a pump inside. But I do love around here, there's sort of that wave effect, and I think it looks really, really beautiful. I got shade 030. This one is also at SPF 15. Now there are 23 shades in this range, and some of the shades are SPF 15. Some are like 20 or 25, and I think some are SPF 30. But I'm going to take a look at the SUQQU website in a minute just to confirm that. And also read a bit about what they say this foundation is like and what you should expect from it. So I'm just having a look on the SUQQU website now, and yes, there are 4 different types of SPF levels depending on which shade you get. So there's the SPF 15 and SPF 20, 25 and 30. They all have a PA of ++. Now they say that this liquid foundation is SUQQU's foundation's first ever use of technology to achieve a smooth finish with less powdery feel. They say it feels fit to the skin with no fear of creasing or separating, and it creates a fresh, high luminous skin. So that was the bit that I was a bit concerned about getting this foundation. High luminous, and mix that with oily skin, and I thought I would just end up looking excessively oily. But as you'll see when I apply it, it really is a beautiful foundation. So the main 3 features that they say about this foundation is that 1, it is a lasting, highly luminous skin achieved with the new technology of fluid pigment. Feature 2 is their shade range to flatter your skin tone, and as I said, they have 23 shades, and the tones go from a pink beige to a beige to a yellow beige, and the one that I picked up is actually the yellow beige one. And feature 3 of this foundation, they say, contains beauty ingredients. It contains Japanese botanical ingredients for a comfortable feel on the skin. And this has 30 ml of product, and on the back it says it has a shelf life of 12 months from date of opening. So it just has the pull-off lid and a pump applicator. Now today I'm just going to do 1 pump. The other day I used 2, and that was just far too much. Now I've applied this foundation using both a beauty blender now and a brush. I think both give exactly the same finish. I did think the brush may give more coverage, but it just didn't appear to, and both times it looked really, really lovely. So here is the shade 30 on my hand, and as you can see, it's slightly runny, but it's not overly runny. So what I'm going to do, I've got primer on already. It's the new Hourglass one that I talk about a lot, and I really love that primer. So I'm going to dot this around my face, and then today I am going to use a beauty blender. So first I'll just do one half of my face so you can see the difference. At first I wasn't too sure about the shade either, but once you've applied it and it settles in for 1 or 2 minutes, it does look really, really lovely. So that is with the foundation on, that's the side without it on. And after blending it in, just the excess that was left on my sponge, I put some under my eyes and on my eyelids as well. I would say this has a medium finish. I can still very slightly see a little bit of my broken capillaries that I have through here, and very slightly the sunspots as well, but really normally I wouldn't put any concealer over top of that, but this foundation also builds really beautifully as well. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on those couple of areas just to show you how it builds. So you can see that it builds really, really beautifully, and on the side I think it just gives a really, really beautiful finish. I think this foundation is fantastic for mature skin, so it'll really look good on any skin, and it would also suit normal to dry skin as well. And now that I've just put it on, it doesn't feel like it's moisturized like the new Chanel foundation. When I put it on, that feels like I've just put a moisturizer on, and I need to put a lot of powder on it to set it down so it doesn't go too oily through the day. But with this, it doesn't really feel like that. I feel like I need to use setting powder, and the setting powder that I've been using with it is the Sicily one. I find that's a lighter powder than the Chanel one, and I've just been dusting lightly over with a fluffy brush. So now I'm just going to do the other side of my face. So that's with all the foundation on, and I think it does a beautiful job at blurring pores. There are a lot of foundations that claim to do that, and to some degree I can slightly see it, but I think this is just stunning. And even the pores over my nose, I think, look blurred as well. This doesn't settle into my lines on my forehead. It sits well under my eyes. I'm still going to put some concealer on under my eyes as well, and it doesn't feel like it. Some foundations that claim to be luminous to have that, it just feels like you've put on this. Sometimes it can be quite a heavy feeling sort of moisturizer, and it doesn't feel like that at all. But I do need to set it down, which is what I'm going to do in a minute. But I think the finish is stunning, really stunning. I'm really pleasantly surprised with this foundation. I wasn't sure what it would be like, and today is going to be my 4th day wearing it, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to put on some concealer. This is the Bobbi Brown one. This is the Intensive Serum Concealer. This is in the shade Natural that I've just started using for the last few days, and I'm going to put some of that on. I don't use a lot of this concealer. I find if I just use a little bit, it gives a really beautiful finish. And initially I was using too much of this concealer and it didn't quite sit right. But now that I just put a little bit on, it looks really beautiful. And really, I'm not surprised that it does, because the concealers that suit me the most are the ones that tend to have those skincare ingredients in them, like that SUQQU one and this Bobbi Brown one. Really, really lovely. So I'm just using the SUQQU. This is the soft concealer brush. This is from the Fusion series. And I love these brushes. I use probably at least 2 or 3 of them every single day. And I have since I got them. They're just really, really beautiful. So I just take the excess of the concealer under my eye. And then as a last step, which I've already done on this eye, I just take my finger and just press that concealer in. I just think it gives it a really beautiful finish. So now off camera, I'm going to do my eyebrows. I'm going to put some setting powder under my eyes, the By Terry press powder. But when I come back, then I will put some SUQQU powder on just to set this foundation down a little bit. So I'll see you then. So now I'm just going to use the SUQQU powder. This is in the shade number 2. And I'm just going to use the Lumiere powder brush. This is just really nice and fluffy. And I'm just going to do a very light dusting of powder. And I find that that's all I need for the whole day. Maybe if it was the middle of summer, I may need to use something like the Chanel powder and really buff the powder in using a brush that I often use, and that's the SUQQU, the Face 1 brush. But at the moment, or the last few times that I've worn this foundation, I haven't had to put much powder on at all. So I'm just going to, I haven't got any extra powder on my brush. I'm just going to sweep over my face to make sure it's all in there. So really I just used hardly any powder, and it just feels really beautiful now. And today actually isn't sunny. Today's the first day in quite a long time that it's a little bit cloudy. I don't know whether it's going to rain or not, and it's a little bit windy outside too, but it's just a little bit overcast. So I think today, with just that really light dusting of powder, and since the sun isn't going to be out today, I definitely think that's going to be enough. So the other times that I've worn this foundation, twice when I've really just been at home and done a light dusting like this. And then the other day I went out and wore it for the whole day and used the same powder as well. It was quite a warm day. And I did take the SUQQU with me. There's a few things I take with me if I go out. And I decided to take with me the SUQQU, the Smooth Buffer, because this is nice and small to fit in my handbag in my little makeup case that I take with me. So I always take a lipstick and a powder in case I get too shiny. And because this is a really good size and travels well, I just took the Hermes, the latest Radiant Matte Powder. And I took those two things thinking, well, if I get a little bit shiny, I can just give it a quick buff. But I just didn't need to. And I was quite surprised by that. The other thing is I went into some shops that day, so I had to wear a mask, so I was taking a mask on and off. I found that there was a little bit of transfer, but nothing too major. It wasn't so bad as when I got back in the car, or looked in a mirror again, and I thought, I haven't got any foundation left where my mask was. It wasn't like that at all. So this wears really well too. So now I'm going to put on the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be back so you can take a look at the finished look with all the makeup on. But I'm also going to show you, once I've got all my makeup on, what this foundation looks like in natural light. So I'll do that in the lounge where I have really big windows in there. There's 3 just huge windows, and I'll film myself in there so you can see what it looks like in natural light. As I said, it's not a really bright sunny day, but because there are so many windows, there's definitely enough natural light so you'll be able to see what it looks like away from these lights that I have in front of me now. So now I've got all the rest of my makeup done, and I've actually done a video for the eyeshadow that I'm wearing and the blush and the lipstick as well. So since putting on this foundation, and I've had a break and gone and done a couple of other things, it's been about an hour since I first put on this foundation. I haven't applied any more powder, and you can see it just looks absolutely beautiful. It is such a beautiful foundation. Like I said, it's not 100% transfer proof. I think the only foundation that I have that is transfer proof is the Estee Lauder Double Wear, that old favourite of mine. But like I said, I wore a mask one of the days that I've previously worn this, and there was a little bit of transfer in the mask, but nothing major, and certainly nothing to think, oh, I've got no foundation on, I need to reapply some more. It was nothing like that at all. And I think that this foundation wore off as I went through the day. Some days I wore it 8 hours, another day I wore it 10 hours. And I think one of the other days I even wore it more than 10 hours. And it does wear away, as a foundation does, but it wears away really beautifully too. It doesn't go patchy or anything like that. This doesn't move around my face during the day. It doesn't settle into my lines. It doesn't go patchy at all. It just keeps this look that it's got now. And I would say it's not a high luminous look, but I would say this is a really soft luminous look. And it stays like this with my oily skin, and I just think that's absolutely fantastic, and it is such a beautiful foundation. But now I'm going to take you into the other room, into the lounge, and just show you what it looks like in natural light. So I'm in my lounge. There is a huge window in front of me, also a window to the right, and to the left it's also a right slider door to the right of me as well. They really are massive windows, and all the curtains are open today. When I've done other tests, sometimes I have to shut one of the side curtains because it's just too sunny. And even though it's still a little bit cloudy, the sun is peeking through a bit, but I still think you can get to see what this looks like in natural light, and it's just really, really beautiful. What a gorgeous foundation. I think it does a fantastic job at blurring. I think it's just really, really gorgeous. So there's not much more to say about this foundation, really. I think it is absolutely beautiful, and I am just so surprised that something that says it is a high luminous type of foundation just goes with oily skin so well. This will suit all skin types, I think, and definitely all age groups, but really a beautiful foundation for mature skin and those with textured skin as well. It is super flattering. I think it does a great job as blurring. I keep repeating myself, but it really is a beautiful foundation. I have recently purchased another new release foundation, and I wore that yesterday, and I really like that one too. It is different though, and I'll do a video on that later in the week and hopefully get that up fairly soon. But really there's just not much more to say about it. It looks beautiful, it feels beautiful on the skin, and overall just really, really gorgeous. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.